Greetings, denizens of the DC universe. Blue Dragon 5 here, hosting a superheroic edition of DC Debates, hosting the following terrific topics. Which obscure DC character should be in James Gunn's DCU? Who should be the next Batman? And best Harley moment from the DCAU. So time to charge those power rings, grab some speed snacks, board the Batwing and go up, up, away. Past the mascara and all the way to the arena. In this corner, a defender of truth, justice, and the American legal system, at least until it scars half his face. It's the Dhar Knight himself, Rohith Dhar.
Hello.
Sorry. And in the opposing corner, swapping out the Eye of Agamotto for the Helmet of Naboo, it's Zatanna's #1 fan, who's hiding from Bane because Super Academy stole his look. It's Jacob Gulliver!
Hello! Thank you for that lovely intro.
And joining me on this comic panel of judges, it's Tiki and Jacob Weil.
Dostoevsky!
Hello, everybody.
So, fellas, how we doing tonight?
Doing good.
I'm eager for this debate.
Yep.
Last one went really well, so I'm hoping that this is another really solid one.
Oh, yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Whew.
Right. So, a little refresher because it's been a while. Here are the rules, is how we play the game, our little merry game. So we have 3 rounds. You're going to reveal your pick, then give an opening statement saying all the good stuff about your stuff, and then it's a fight to the finish. My most important co-host here, R2D2, he's the bell. The bell calls all the shots. The bell tells us when it's time for the judges. Myself, Tiki, and Jacob Weil here to deliberate and vote on who gets the points. There's going to be 3 people voting on, basically voting on who gets the point. Whoever gathers the most votes gets that round point. At the end of 3 rounds, we coin the Two-Face coin, otherwise known as the Great Equalizer. And of course, the way the Great Equalizer works is heads, you could get a point. Tails, not so lucky. Now this feature of our little game is optional. However, hidden in one of our rounds is something a little more chaotic, something breaching beyond the 3rd dimension. We got some Mixie money hidden in one of these rounds. He is in Mr. Mixia Spitalik. So we got some
Is that a play on Muppet money?
Yes.
I love it.
Give me all that Mixie money. Of course, Mixie money, there's always some strings.
Is it fair to say that Muppet money thing is like the most memorable thing to come out of the Muppets 2015?
I don't know if anyone else would agree, but I would.
All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Of course, the way the Mixie money works is, folks, when that coin is found in one of our rounds, and folks, it will be found, and you better believe it will be flipped. As whoever gets it, they're gonna have to. It's gonna be flipped by somebody. All right, now let's just say, with any game, you have some good times and the not so good times. There is possibly a penalty phrase. The penalty phrase works. There could be one, could be more, could be a name, could be a place.
It should be Martha.
Who knows? It could be a number of things, but trust me, folks, whenever this word, or assuming there even is a word, is said, nothing good will come of it. God help you if you say that word. Like, oh man, it's like, I mean, you've heard about the horror stories of Candyman. Imagine if you didn't have to say Candyman or Beetlejuice a number of times. Imagine you just had to say it once. Okay, imagine all that just with the utterance of one word. So, of course, it's all starting now, by the way. See, now that I've told you this, anytime any one of you chuckleheads says the word, they'll be in play.
And I'll be keeping an ear out for them.
That is correct. So, after the main round, we have the speed round, in which you know how it works. It's a race of the 5 points. Whoever gets 5 points first wins the game. We are taking audience questions during the speed round, which could be really fun. Of course, folks who send us audience questions, you will get to decide who made the more compelling argument and who gets the point. You get to be the guest judge. Isn't that nice? Aren't you happy you tuned in?
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of which, we got Kogias in the comments saying, hi, I hope you're all doing well, and am excited to debate DC. And yeah, we are doing well, Kogias. Happy to have you. All right.
So, gentlemen, do you understand these rules? I've explained them to you both here this fine evening.
Yes.
I do.
I am excited to win Mr. Mitzpixlik's money.
I wonder if it's even legal tender because it's from the fifth dimension.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even care if it's like real money or gets me points. I'm too big of a collector to skip out on such a rare find.
You know what the best part about the coin is?
What?
It's got a little hat on it.
Oh my god.
That is the best part about the coin, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, does the coin itself have a hat, or is the George Washington on the coin wearing a hat?
I'll leave it to your imagination.
All right.
It could be, for all we know, it could be both.
right.
Anywho, let's cue the randomizer. Let's find out who's going first and who's
Cue
not.
the randomizer. As you can see, folks, here in this lovely little image here, we have both Gulliver's and Rohith's name displayed in here. After I click the button, it will determine who goes first. So, in 3, 2, 1. And wouldn't you know it?
All right, Rohith Dhar will be going first for our main round.
All right, there we go.
All right. So speaking of which, with this main round, the question, Dragon, I feel like we might have gotten it a little bit confused, because the way that I pitched this question to Jacob Gulliver, who I was corresponding with, and Dragon was corresponding with Rohith, was that basically I was pitching essentially like, pick a character that James Gunn would kind of pluck from obscurity in the same way that he did Guardians of the Galaxy, and it could be a character or it could be a team, hence why Gulliver does that.
I forgot to add like the little like in parentheses S to characters, but essentially, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to make it fair, because Gulliver picked a team, Rohith only picked one character. My idea was that you could basically do either or. But the idea for me, the way that I envisioned this question, and Dragon, like, by all means, feel free to clarify. I envisioned this question as basically like, what obscure kind of like IP, be it a singular character or a team or what have you, should James Gunn kind of like pick out of obscurity, Guardians of the Galaxy style. So I apologize if there was any confusion there.
Well, I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy isn't in the wording of the question, though, is it?
Guardians of the Galaxy style. I forget exactly what
I'm not seeing a banner right now, so I have no idea what.
Well, it's not in the title of the actual. Yeah. Okay.
Right, so, which obscure DC character or characters, to be exact, characters/characters.
Just want to make sure I'm by the books here.
Well, that's by the books. I just forgot to add like the little parentheses S. But yes, characters should be in James Gunn's DCU. Okay, so Rohith, what, pray tell, was your answer?
Patrick O'Brien, aka Plastic Man.
All right, Plastic Man. Gulliver.
My answer was Justice League Dark.
All right. All right. Counselor, opening statements.
In James Gunn being the steward, the Kevin Feige of this new DC universe, in terms of what obscure characters or concepts or teams could be such an absolute perfect fit for the tone and the vision that James Gunn has for the DCU, Plastic Man is, I believe, the perfect obscure character. Plastic Man, as you may or may not know, he is Patrick O'Brien, who was a former criminal that fell into a vat of acid or chemicals and was able to be malleable like Mr. Fantastic. And as such, what makes this character so exciting, so fun to read in comics, is that he can be in any shape, any form. So there is a lot of visual humor, physical comedy in terms of what objects he can turn into. And he's always a fun character, whether on his own with his fun crew of characters, or if he's on an ensemble like the Justice League, as from the 90s when Grant Morrison wrote that book, and in the team called the Terrifics, which is a pastiche or a homage to the Fantastic Four, which, funny enough, two of the members on that team, Mr. Terrific and Metamorpho, are going to be in the upcoming Superman Legacy film. So Plastic Man would be a natural fit for that universe. Also, James Gunn has mentioned in either on X, formerly Twitter, or Threads, that the Terrifics is one of his favorite books or favorite teams, and Plastic Man is on there. Plastic Man is a character that can work well because he is such a comic booky character. He's his power set, his sensibilities, in trying to make this DC universe stand out, distinct from its predecessor shared universe. You need to have an embracing of the silliness, but also have a sense of heart. Plastic Man has a story of being a former criminal that turns good by being a superhero. He has a kooky cast of characters. In the comics, he has a son who also has powers, named Offspring. In some iterations of Plastic Man, he was a criminal in Gotham, so you can have a strong, solid relationship with Batman. What this character adds is that you can have great humor that's specifically distinct from the typical criticized MCU humor of quips, and it's more visual gags, more physical humor. You have the drama in terms of him trying to be a good father, a good role model to his son, and trying to prove to whichever team he's on that he's a good reformed individual and that he's a serious hero in spite of his comedic antics. And in terms of power set, until One Piece, there hasn't been great displays of stretching ability, but with One Piece, how well Luffy's powers are displayed, I think Plastic Man, whether in a movie his own or in a Justice League or a Terrifics movie, he can be such a standout character, both visually and just in terms of personality, in terms of being a character that people would want to just see more of in film, TV, and I think in light of the fact that how likable Plastic Man is in, like, say, animation for the Justice League action TV show that came out a few years ago, Plastic Man is the right amount of obscurity, the right amount of ingredients to make himself stand out, to reinforce the comic bookness of the DC universe that James Gunn is stewarding, and to bring in something that is fresh, something that is fun, and something that is reaffirming the value of superheroes, which is escapism that has still a sense of horror and a sense of resonance. And that is why, in all totality, Plastic Man would be the best obscure DC character to be in the DC universe as headed by James Gunn.
Okay. All right, Magic Man, what do you got?
Is that me?
Yeah,
Yes.
well,
My turn? Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be kind of cool. But...
Okay. I just wasn't clear if that was me or not. Yes. So I would like to pitch a Justice League Dark as stewarded by James Gunn. This is a very oddball kind of either, C tier, D tier team that kind of gets pulled to the front anytime that there is strange supernatural or like magical crises. And all of these characters are the kind of oddball characters that you get out of a, Guardians of the Galaxy style thing. They're just less focused in the sci-fi space and more in like the, magic and horror space, which I think is fantastic. So we've got characters like John Constantine, we got Zatanna, we got Deadman, we got Nightmare Nurse, Frankenstein, Swamp Thing, Madame Xanadu. The roster on this changes a fair bit over the years. And this would be, a team that would get up to all kinds of really interesting things that don't overlap with the other things that are already planned in the James Gunn cinematic universe for DC here, but would still be really interesting. And then there are a few things that, would start to overlap. I believe there's a Swamp Thing show planned, so you could kind of tie that in really easily. Justice League Dark also often absorbs other DC heroes for specific adventures. Batman shows up plenty. Wonder Woman shows up plenty, especially if it has to do with like people who've died. One of my personal favorite obscure DC characters, the Phantom Stranger, is associated with Justice League Dark as well. I think there could be some really interesting things in there. Specifically, I think we would get some of the like strange, like, almost like Guardian style, gross out humor or like gallows humor moments that you've gotten throughout, but still have these characters who have, they've kind of been pushed to the side by society. People think they're weirdos. People think they're oddballs, and they are, but they're trying to do something good for the world at the end of the day. You could get some of those elements of them bouncing off the real world, but also they do have a lot of heart kind of bouncing back and forth against each other within the walls of the House of Mystery. So for me, this feels like a really ideal team to kind of play that role of like being able to absorb or dispense characters from the other properties, and have the House of Mystery be a place they can go to in other films. Sort of like the way that the, Sanctum Sanctorum has been in the, Marvel universe. Spider-Man swings through, Thor swings through, and it interconnects those things in that kind of fun way. So to me, that feels like it'd be a really good choice here.
Okay, gentlemen, let's fight out on the rooftop somewhere.
All right, two things I want to address with your pick, Jacob. One, I think the fact that you're emphasizing that this is like sort of like Guardians of the Galaxy, I think is a huge problem, because the DC universe shouldn't just be, oh, it's stuff from Marvel, but in DC, it needs to stand out and be unique. And second, there is already kind of a version of the Guardians of the Galaxy already going to be introduced in DCU with Creature Commandos. And those characters are very much in the kind of, supernatural, odd, mystical kind of realm. And I don't know if Justice League Dark would be of any sort of substantive difference, because the thing is, you're describing in the Guardians of the Galaxy tone. I feel like someone is already going to do that. So why? So whereas with Plastic Man, his kind of humor is a humor that we haven't seen in movies since like the 90s Jim Carrey comedies. And I feel like him being in the DC universe will be kind of a breath of fresh air in terms of diversity of comedy and his specific struggles of being a good father would be taken seriously by the rest of your community. I think those are compelling things and things that are within the wheelhouse and sort of sensibilities of someone like a James Gunn.
Is that my turn to reply here?
Well,
I mean,
Or is it just going back and forth here? Okay.
It is a debate. You don't have to wait.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know if I needed
it's
to wait or
courteous,
not.
but you don't have
Sorry,
to.
it's been a while since I did one of these.
But
Apologies.
Wait,
But
which
also-
one are you again?
What?
But also try not to talk over each other.
Sure, yeah. No, I understand your criticism there, and I think Creature Commandos is definitely more in like the kind of war space. I would say, if you're comparing it to stuff that already exists that James Gunn has done, I would say this is just, another extension of Suicide Squad kind of stuff, which I don't really see as being Justice League Dark. Justice League Dark solves crazy mysteries. They solve all kinds of oddball. It's almost like a group of private detectives that happen to be superheroes. So I'm not seeing it at all as like the Guardians of the Galaxy or the Creatures Commandos kind of thing. I'm seeing this as a totally different, almost like TV show, Supernatural, or like if Doctor Strange were low budget and a TV show. I think that could be really cool with this sort of cast of characters. The trouble I have with Plastic Man, there's a few things. First and foremost, he is very, very goofy. And while James Gunn has leaned into the goofy before, it hasn't always worked out the best for him. Plastic Man is also, in terms of like the writing, pretty misogynistic. He's really like horny for everybody all the time. I don't think he'd really be a good fit as like, if they adapt that way, that's going to be a mistake right off the bat.
So can I respond quickly to that? I think, with Plastic Man, just considering how like James Gunn has adapted characters like Peacemaker and how they're not really, one-to-one with the comics, I think Plastic Man, you can take sort of like the good parts of him and adapt it in the DC universe. And also, in regards to the misogynistic part, I feel like if James Gunn is going to bring Guy Gardner of all people in the Superman legacy, and Guy Gardner is even a bigger misogynist and just a jerk, like I feel like Plastic Man can fit right in with the DC universe. And I think to your point about them being sort of a low budget, thing, I feel like then the concern is like if it's a TV show, the budget is not going to be as good as like say if they were in a movie. And two, the Justice League Dark just kind of solving mysteries. Considering these characters have very fantastical powers, you kind of want them to just I feel like they should be more utilized in finding more mystical creatures. And the detective element, if not done well, can lead to a project that's very meandering, very slow paced. And I think the things like Secret Invasion or stuff that's like a thriller or mystery element, if it's not done well.
Sure, you're saying if it's not done well, that's an assumption, though. Like it's the same thing with Plastic Man. If Plastic Man's not done well, then he'll be a misogynistic, goofy-looking mess. But we're not making that assumption.
So, okay, that's fair. I think between the two, Plastic Man, I think in terms of your point about him being too goofy, it's like I feel like we kind of crossed the Rubicon in terms of what is and isn't goofy in superhero projects. I think the audience now is more sophisticated and more willing to accept, things that are a little bit outside the norm. And I think Plastic Man would be a welcome pushing the envelope in terms of his visual power set, in terms of just this overall humor. I think he would just like add a little spice to scenes if he's part of an ensemble team. I think with Justice League Dark, it's like the concern is that like, okay, like right in Marvel, there's like the whole Midnight Suns thing, Doctor Strange, Blade, all of them folks. I think there's going to be concerns about whether or not like Midnight Suns is a better version of Justice League Dark. Whereas I feel like for Plastic Man, there's really no one that's equivalent to him in terms of his power set, in terms of his personality. So I think he's a little bit more unique. And
Elongated Man is a long-standing character in DC.
Yeah, but
largely the same power set.
But Plastic Man is a cooler Elongated Man, like personality-wise, obviously. And Plastic Man has a lot more like use of his abilities to where he can turn into like both. It's equivalent to how Elastigirl's powers were used in The Incredibles. That's how Plastic Man is used. But just imagine a live action, and that would be
sure. Elongated Man was already adapted in the Arrowverse, so he made it there first. Plastic Man was not chosen for that role. Yeah, I'm wondering if there's a reason for that.
Considering Elongated Man's personality is very similar to in the Arrowverse is very similar to Plastic Man. They just took the name and gave him Plastic Man's personality. If anything, Plastic Man is just kind of a character who is a lot more enjoyable to read and can add a certain level of excitement in terms of like what he's going to do with his power set, or how is he going to crack a joke and like make the
limit of that is, how is he going to stretch to do a thing? When you're talking about, supernatural realm crossing happening with Justice League Dark, the limits there are much more interesting to me. Being able to travel to hell or other planes of reality, being able to, travel to all the different weird places in between realities, being able to interact with ghosts. Plastic Man's not going to do any of that. He's going to stretch weird and make a duty joke. Like that's not going to work the same way.
I mean, I think the way, like the shapes he can get into can be the most creative parts of the character's power set. And also, I think for Justice League Dark, it's like, okay, you have them go into different dimensions. And I think for me, it's like magic and superhero like properties, especially in the live action shared universe, has been done a lot. So I don't see in your pitch that Justice League Dark does anything distinct from all the other magic related superhero stuff. Plastic Man is a very comedy oriented, has a specific power set. I think in order for the DCU, James Gunn DCU, to really stand out, you have to take characters that have no equal, that have no pastiche or homage. They're their own thing, and Plastic Man, I feel like, would attract more audience attention, would have a specific arc, would have things to mine for drama in terms of relationship with his son, in terms of him trying to be taken seriously in the superhero community. Just like Dark, it's like I don't feel we get a sense of like what are the interpersonal dynamics, what is the internal what is personal drama that animates these characters. Like it's cool to see magical like world building and all that stuff, but there has to be kind of more. And I'm not getting much of the character part, and I feel like that's more inherent in Plastic Man, and that's why it would be such a good addition to the DCU for Games Done.
So you haven't really described any of like the character elements of Plastic Man other than him being goofy.
So Plastic Man was a criminal that got into an accident and gained these plastic powers, and thus had a second chance of life in reforming himself. He is very he always alleviates tension in the room. He'll always will try to be everyone's best pal is in the Justice League and in the Terrifics, and he'll make corny. I think, but underneath that corniness, underneath that comedy, there is a person that is conflicted that puts on this sort of comedic mask to hide his feelings of being inadequate, feeling that he did wrong and he's trying to make up for it. And I think that kind of internal conflict can make for a really interesting character, whether in a solo context or in an ensemble context. And I feel like for Justice League Dark, it's that you have these characters who do things in the magical space, but what are these characters' relationships, ideologies, personalities?
Sure. They're all individually people who largely have been shunned by society for one reason or another because they're oddballs or they have creepy, strange powers that freak people out. And that kind of brings them together, but they all also have their own thing. They all have their own secrets. And if you think of John Constantine, who is basically like 800 secrets stacked up together to make a dude, and you have characters like Zatanna who are just they could be a hero, they could be in the regular Justice League, but they don't really feel like they fit in there because their powers are weird and chaotic and unpredictable and make people uncomfortable. You have characters like Deadman who literally can't interact with a ton of people unless he possesses them. That freaks people the hell out. So seeing how his powers interact with that sort of character development of I have to possess somebody to talk to you now, that would be amazing. That would get those comedy elements but still have these wonderfully darkly tragic characters that get to interact with each other and grow together while they do these amazing supernatural mysteries and wild journeys to other realms. To me, that sounds like a ton of space to explore in terms of a plot. I can see how your story you're describing involves Plastic Man and Plastic Man alone, but I don't see how it interacts with other characters. I don't see an arc happening there.
No, there is the arc. There's him trying to prove himself worthy to be a serious superhero in the Justice League, in the Terrifics, we has his son who's also a superhero, has superpowers, and he's trying to be a good role model. So there's elements of the father-son dynamic, which is stuff that James Gunn really heavily mines and really invests in his prior work. So if James Gunn's not directly being involved in Plastic Man stuff, just this sort of sensibilities kind of help support and help lift Plastic Man to be a valuable A-list character in the DC universe. While for what you described for the character dynamics, Zatanna, I don't know if that's really. I feel like for certain characters, they are shown, some of them aren't. John Constantine in the Justice League Dark in the regular DC universe is kind of a neuter version of his Vertigo self. So I feel like John Constantine, what makes that character really interesting, is not there if he's just part of the regular DC universe. For Zatanna, like, for all intents and purposes, she's been a regular Justice League member since the 70s. Like, I guess it would be interesting to have her be sort of an outcast and weirdo and all that stuff, but it just doesn't feel in the spirit of that particular character. For Deadman, I think, like, if for in regards to the, like, you say that Plastic Man's comedy can get old, I feel like Deadman's comedy can get also old as well. It's like, all right, how many times can this person be possessed and act contrary to how you would typically expect till that joke gets old? I think for me, is like Plastic Man, you have someone who has great comedic sensibilities, has great dramatic potential. He has a great power set that can be used in creative ways, and thus they can stand out in a solo project, whether film or TV, or an ensemble where they make like other Justice League members laugh with even when they don't want to. And the Terrifics, which is the pastiche of the Fantastic Four, you have the serious member of Mr. Terrific. You have Metamorpho, who's this dark, tragic character. You have this woman named Phantom Girl, who's like lost from her home world. She's an alien. And Plastic Man is the one that like keeps the team together, keeps them feeling hopeful and optimistic, because he always has a bright, optimistic outlook, even in spite of his criminal past. And I think that's something inspiring and something that's unique to James Gunn's vision of superheroes, is that you take characters, you take people who come from these very dark, very malign backgrounds, and you put them in the ringer, and they come out being much brighter, much better, much optimistic, and just more human people.
I have but one final argument to share, and that is this. Gone, gone the form of man, arise the demon, Etrigan. That's all I'm going to say on that matter.
And we're done. So, Tiki,
Yo.
what say you, man?
Yeah, this was a pretty solid back and forth. Rohit, again, you kind of might want to work on making your introductory statements a little more brief. Oh man, I'm honestly kind of going back and forth, but honestly, oh god, Gulliver made one really good point about the character interactions. Like, I really love his pitch about how Deadman would work. I literally have never heard of Deadman before in my life until he described it, and I thought that was really, really kinetic with how James Gunn does his character work. That being said, I do think that Rohit had the better takedowns, and I was looking for one specific thing from Gulliver, which was basically, I was looking for Gulliver to essentially call out Plastic Man's whole, the whole arc of being a reformed criminal. I was kind of looking for the Ant-Man comparison as far as like being derivative, and that just never came up. So honestly, in a close match, that was kind of my leaning point, was if Ant-Man was going to get brought into it or not, and because it wasn't, I'm leaning Rohit, but only slightly. I think both people made good cases here.
Look, I'm going to turn it over to Jacob. I just want to say, for posterity's sake, you forgetful Fibby boy, we did a whole recap on the Deadman episode from Justice League.
Oh my God, you're hurting.
Okay, JLU, Dead Reckoning, the big poll where Batman killed
I swear to God, I don't remember. I'm sorry. You know how my memory works.
Anyway, Jacob, where are you
Like, I'm leaning towards Rohit. I believe he had much better basically structure to his argument. I mean, granted, the opening argument did carry on a bit long, but I do think he overall had like the better idea for how he would fit within the DCU. And I kind of wish he would touch upon, like, sometimes the heroes having negative aspects makes them a more interesting character. I kind of wish that would have been touched upon, and sometimes they can grow out of them, and then character development and all that. But other than that, I still think Rohit has a better argument here.
Yeah. Well, not that it really matters at this juncture, because the points go in the Rohit, but just to weigh my 2 cents in there. My vote is also for Rohit, and here's why. I thought both arguments were really good, and both picks were excellent. I do feel there was a weakness in both arguments. I feel it all came down to structure on this one. I guess the structuring of the argument is, I guess, the presentation, or however you want to describe that. It's that I could see Rohit on his heels a little bit, and that he kept going back to the same points about Teal O'Brien's criminal backstory and everything, which I think he started really strong, but then he just kept going back to it again. But then I think he kind of pulled out a victory towards the very end. When he kind of related it to like kind of the peacemaker thing, the whole the father son aspect of James Gunn's story. So I think he did go somewhere with it, but it took him a while to get there, and I was a little worried for him. On the flip side, Gulliver, I was really worried in this fight. I thought he wasn't. Originally I thought it was just locked for Rohith because Gulliver mentioned as basically them as an ensemble, it wasn't really laying out like here's the really great diverse cast that you have, and there's like, but then he eventually got there. But I don't know if it was like too little too late, or Plastic Man kind of dominated by then. And I mean, look, as much as I love Etrigan the Demon, I don't know if Gone the Form of Man is necessarily it's a cool sounding closing, but
it's okay to be wrong.
All right.
It was a good closing, not a great closing.
Gulliver, Code Geass is definitely in your corner, as you can tell. He says, oh no, not Plastic Man. Jacob already wins this round.
And considering that particular comment was at 10:09, it was actually 10:15. His prediction didn't really work out, did it?
All right.
Okay.
So Rohith wins.
Well, the round, yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously the round, yeah.
All right, so that brings the score to Rohith 1, Gulliver 0. That brings us to the next question.
Well, before we do,
yes,
on to the weather. No, I'm kidding. Jacob, was it said?
I'll be glad to tell you, Dragon. Now, let me just search my back computer for any instances and if any of the words had been uttered. And I will say, no.
Well, yeah, you're right. No, yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to check my trust.
None of our contestants said the word.
I'm going to use my trusty utility belt here. I'm going to look for some mixy money. Looking for some mixy money. And I got a whole bunch of stuff in this belt, man. I got gobs of stuff. What I don't have is mixy money. I don't have mixy money.
You have some bat shark repellent?
Yeah, I got that.
Okay.
I got the shark repellent. I got the grappling gun.
It's pretty important to have.
Got some regular money, but no mixy money.
Okay.
Just like plain old 3-dimensional money.
Not as collectible. Although I guess there are numismatics, but
I mean, I collect coins.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like some people do.
Yeah.
But not many people collect like cash, like dollar bills. Much more rare.
Right.
All
right, so let's see if there's. I want to just take a moment here to remind the folks. Little Blue joined us a little after we were into things. Remember, folks, when we get to the speed round, you'll be able to suggest questions that we will be inclined to use, and you would judge that round. You'll be able to judge who gets the point for that question. Again, this is during the speed round, so if you want to start formulating or maybe posting them in advance, I mean, it's a way to go. You can do it. So hopefully you'll stick around for the duration, so we don't have that awkward moment where you reuse your question, you're gone, then we're all going to look bad.
At that point,
don't do that to us, Little Blue. Don't do that to us.
At that point, we'll have to decide for you.
Yeah.
And you don't want
to take the ceremony out of it all, just like the nice, kind of clean cut nature of it. Like he's got a question, we got an answer, we got a ruling, but you don't have that if he's gone.
All right.
Okay. On to round 2. Who should be cast as Batman, the one and only, in Andy Muschietti's Batman movie? Rohith.
My pick is Jake Gyllenhaal.
All right. Gulliver.
My pick is Joel Edgerton.
All right.
Jake and Joel.
The 2 J's.
And remember, Rohith, reduce the opening just a little bit.
Okay.
We keep it casual around here. No ropes, just nice shirts.
Yes.
Okay.
When you're ready, Rohith.
Jake Gyllenhaal is, I believe, the perfect pick to be cast as Batman in The Brave and the Bold and in the overall DC universe. Jake Gyllenhaal is an established actor who's had a variety of great film roles in things like Donnie Darko, Brokeback Mountain, Zodiac, Brothers, Jarhead, Nightcrawler, Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. He is an actor who's been in a variety of different projects. He can do drama, he can do action, he can do comedy, he can do romance. And I think to make Batman stand out in the DC universe, to have him be older, established, to have him be more comic booky, sort of in contrast to Matt Reeves' version of Batman with Robert Pattinson playing that character, you want someone who's very versatile. Specifically for James Gunn, he's a big fan of Grant Morrison's Batman run. That run is very comic booky, very abstract, and Jake Gyllenhaal has shown that he can do comedic, very broad, very abstract with stuff like Velvet Buzzsaw, with his appearance in John Mulaney's The Sack Lunch Brunch. He can go broad, he can go very serious, very subtle. And also, he has the essence. When you see Jake Gyllenhaal in a role, when he stares off in the distance, where there is this sense of internal guilt and internal consternation, that is Batman. A person who is, if not plagued, is burdened by his feelings on how much he's contributing, how much is he doing to solve crime. With his versatility, with him being in his 40s, and him being just an established name, Jake Gyllenhaal has the right elements, the ingredients, the know-how to be Batman.
Okay, Mr. Gulliver, what say you?
Yeah, I have picked Joel Edgerton because I believe that he exhibits a very key component that other Batman films in recent years have missed. And that element is range, the ability to differentiate between the person that is Bruce Wayne and the person that is Batman. Even though they are the same person, what we've gotten a lot of in the past few years, especially with the most recent Robert Pattinson Batman, is one guy. It is very obvious that version of Batman is also Bruce Wayne, because Bruce Wayne is a sad rich kid with a lot of problems, and Batman is clearly a sad rich kid with a lot of problems who also has a big black mask and a truck. So, like, Joel Edgerton can be both of those people. And if you think back to, Batman the Animated Series, you have this perfect dichotomy between, the charismatic, but a little bit kind of, goofy, a little bit sort of, on the surface, naive Bruce Wayne, this, charming billionaire guy who can kind of work his way into those social circles, but, maybe doesn't have, the skills necessary to manage this company. That character is fantastic. And then that same character also happens to be Batman. You have this intimidating, deep, thoughtful detective who is able to, command the streets of Gotham in this incredible way. I believe Joel Edgerton has the range to do both of those things. If you think about, like, his performance in, I don't know if you've seen The Green Knight, but, like, his performance as the Lord is so intimidating in that he has that, like, really intense personality. He can do that really well when he needs to do that. But he can also be, more like, neutral kind of rich guy. If you think of his performance in, like, Gatsby, for example, he's this, kind of rich weenie guy, and that works too. But over the years, he's done tons and tons and tons of these different movies. He can visually be this real chameleon. And even though they're both the same person, I think he could really bring something to both elements of that role that we haven't gotten in a really long time. We had some of it with Christian Bale, but after the first film, that kind of went away. So that's something I would really like to see be there again. That's something that would be really valuable to me.
All right, boys. Time to put on the capes and fight out.
Here's my problem with Joel Edgerton. I think Joel Edgerton is a good actor. I think he does solid work. But here's my thing. Jake Gyllenhaal as an actor, we all have seen a movie or seen him in parts where he can be romantic. And Jake Gyllenhaal in his real life has been a bit of a playboy. So I think he can bring that sort of persona into playing the Bruce Wayne aspect. I think for Jake Gyllenhaal, like in terms of your whole thesis about Reigns being able to play both Bruce Wayne and Batman separately, Jake Gyllenhaal can do that in spades. Jake Gyllenhaal did a rom-com with Anne Hathaway where he plays this charming pharmaceutical executive. He can put that into Bruce Wayne. For Batman, he can pull from Prisoners where he played Detective Loki. He can pull from Nightcrawler. He can pull from Jarhead. So I think for me, like between the two actors, Jake Gyllenhaal has like a more credible filmography. He has a greater he has greater praise among his peers, among film critics, among audiences.
I would say Jake Gyllenhaal has a more well-known filmography. I think Joel Edgerton has just as broad of a filmography, but he tends to do more indie stuff, and I think that's kind of the way that he likes it. Putting him on center stage, I think, would be really cool to see that showcased. My big problem with Jake Gyllenhaal is that he would be a really great Dick Grayson, but not a great Bruce Wayne, because he has that kind of charm, that energy. He has that kind of like acrobat sort of build, but he doesn't really have the like imposing physicality that I would want to see from a Batman type character. He's a little bit more of that kind of Dick Grayson vibe to me.
That I don't understand why certain people, when they talk about Batman, make him out to be this like large, imposing guy. I think a lot of people take too much from Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns or Ben Affleck's Batman. The thing is, you look to the 70s when it was Neil Adams and Dennis O'Neil, Batman was very slight. It was more like a ninja. And so and the thing is that for James Gunn is a big fan of the Grant Morrison Batman run. And in that run, Grant Morrison's defined Batman to be this like Uberman, ultimate Renaissance man who has a backup personality just in case he goes insane. And he's very much embraces like Buddhist Asian teachings. Jake Gyllenhaal is like a real life practicing Buddhist. He has the way he talks about his acting methodology. He talks about how he's wanting to just get into the headspace and know the minutia of whatever character he's playing. And I think that level of dedication, level of focus, as evidenced in films like Nightcrawler, you can see that level of darkness, a level of foreboding. And I have sort of a particular theory I want to share with the audience of that. I feel like the best actors to play Batman are actors that can also play villains or have the villainous energy of them. And Jake Gyllenhaal has personified that in things.
So is Joel Edgerton, though. So.
Yeah, but also visually, like if you look at the two, like side by side, the pictures that we have here, Jake Gyllenhaal is a dead ringer for Bruce Wayne more so than Joel Edgerton. I feel like Joel Edgerton would be more apt for say a Two-Face than a Bruce Wayne. Like Jake Gyllenhaal has movie experience with stuff like Prince of Persia. Even though it's like a great film, he can get in good shape. He's got in good shape in the movie called Southpaw, so he can have the physical prowess. He has the ability to get.
All of these arguments are also for Joel Edgerton because he's done those kinds of movies too. So for what it's worth, that is also on the table. I don't think that your pick is a bad choice. I will put that out there for sure. But I also think that Jake Gyllenhaal is way more recognizable, and he is way more somebody that I think people will look at and say, "Oh, this is Jake Gyllenhaal," and not somebody that people will look at and think, "Oh, this is Batman," or "This is Bruce Wayne." He doesn't disappear into those roles the same way that Joel does.
I feel like if you look to Nightcrawler, look to Prisoners, you look to Enemy, you look to Jarhead, you look to Zodiac, he disappears those roles and he gets critical acclaim for it. I think Joel Edgerton, his main thing is that he's very solid. You know, he plays like an everyman. He can go to the dark places. I feel like for Batman, he has to kind of be a Renaissance man of different tones and different versatilities because Batman's such
Which he is. I mean, he's got tons and tons of movies under his belt where he plays different characters. He's played gangsters. He's played like farmers. He's played like rough and tumble guys. He's played, the Lord in the Green Knight. He's been all over the place. Jake Gyllenhaal plays sad guys who are sad a lot for the movie and sometimes fight people. And that's great, and he's good at those, but that's about his range.
That's such a reductive view of Jake Gyllenhaal's capabilities as an actor. Like if you looked at things like Jarhead, if you looked at things like Ambulance, the Michael Bay film, he's able to he's able to emulate the energy of whatever director he works with and add to it. I think Joel Edgerton, I feel like it's whenever there's a movie with Joel Edgerton in it, I feel like Joel Edgerton is not the main highlight of that movie. Whereas for a movie that has Jake Gyllenhaal in it, Jake Gyllenhaal is the highlight or one of the highlights. And I feel like for Batman, you need someone who's going to be the highlight or one of the highlights of the movie and of the DC universe. Jake Gyllenhaal has been considered for prior superhero projects, so Hollywood does consider him to be super material. Joel Edgerton has never been considered, to my mind, in any other superhero projects. So I feel
isn't that kind of like trying to say, like, oh yeah, well, we want Tom Holland for the DC universe? He is super recognizable as Mysterio at this point because he's done other superhero stuff. That kind of makes it a little bit weird to cast him in another superhero role.
Not necessarily because he was just a one-off role. And Jake Gyllenhaal, like as an actor, he has the ability to just kind of, in certain roles, be able to be really charming. I think the thing is Joel Edgerton, I don't think he could do I can't buy him being sort of a playboy to the same degree that Jake Gyllenhaal is. And that's part of it because Jake Gyllenhaal was a real life playboy. He's been in rom-coms like Love and Other Drugs with Anne Hathaway. And I think for Batman in the DC universe to stand up for, say, Matt Reeves, I think he needs to play someone that's like the ultimate back god, who can prepare to have a backup personality, who can have 25 contingencies in place. And Jake Gyllenhaal, in a lot of his roles, he has that kind of persona, that kind of obsessiveness to that degree. Joel Edgerton, I feel like he can be a little rough and tumble, but I don't think he's like the intellectual prowess that Jake Gyllenhaal, I feel, has displayed more prominently in a lot of his more noteworthy roles.
I completely disagree, but that is neither here nor there, I suppose. I think what this debate has showed me is that not a lot of people have watched Joel Edgerton in other films. I think I would encourage those of you who are doubters to go and watch some other films that he is in, because he can really bring depth, and he could really disappear into those roles in some truly tremendous ways. I think Jake Gyllenhaal is a great actor. He truly is. But I don't think that he can do what Joel Edgerton can do. And I don't think that he could bring either the top tier intensity or the top tier charm on either end of the spectrum that Joel Edgerton can.
I mean, in interviews, like Jake Gyllenhaal comes off so charismatic, especially in that press tour for Spider-Man No Way Home when he was with Tom Holland. I think he's very charming in when he's in the romantic roles. He's very.
But it's all the surface level, goofy level you'd get with your brother or your cousin or whatever.
No. But
it's not
hold on, let me finish my point. But because the thing why I emphasize him having a lot of range and having comedy, romance, and all that stuff is that for the DC universe, they're trying to adapt elements or the essence of Grant Morrison's Batman run. That's a very high energy, very Silver Age, very Batman Incorporated, multiple Batman. And I feel like Joel Edgerton would kind of not fit or kind of just blend in the background. Whereas Jake Gyllenhaal having the cachet, having that action movie experience, having the romantic experience, the comedy experience, the dramatic experience, he could coalesce into having a well-rounded Batman that's been around the block, that's had multiple sidekicks. And
all of those could also describe Joel Edgerton.
And can stand toe to toe with the likes of a David Corns for Superman, whoever else is casted. I think Joel Edgerton, I feel like wouldn't make much of a person next to David Cornsweat Superman as does Jake Gyllenhaal. Jake Gyllenhaal, because of his ability to work with a lot of well-to-do actors, him sort of kind of honing in.
So your argument is nepotism. Your argument is that Jake Gyllenhaal has worked with other people and therefore is more famous and should be Batman.
No, I'm not saying he's more famous. I'm just saying that Jake Gyllenhaal, because of the story filmography, he's been able to show a lot. And I feel like Joel Edgerton may have the capabilities, but I think if we're comparing filmographies, Jake Gyllenhaal has done various different roles that's shown different aspects of Batman because Batman is such a storied character. I feel like Joel Edgerton is very limited in how he can play Batman. He can more fit like a Matt Reeves or Christopher Nolan, but for an authentic comic book DC universe, Jake Gyllenhaal is the man for Batman.
I was gonna say, Dragon, come on. All right.
I guess I'll cast the first vote. I appreciate Gulliver sticking by Edgerton. I do, and I do think he had a number of very witty points, especially. So your argument is nepotism. I thought that was gold. I thought that was great. But by the same token, though, I mean, I just found myself very much agreeing with a lot of what Rohit was laying out about Gyllenhaal. I think the biggest point is like the whole like you could buy this guy, like as like a draw in himself. Where we've had this thing so often with Batman, where it's always like. Until a certain point, it was very much like you're going to the villains are getting all the attention and everything. So I think it kind of spoke to me a little bit. But I think the main thing too is the whole like, can you see this guy with the David Corn Sweat? Is that who New Superman is?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think I don't know. I think a lot of what Rohit was saying was hitting me in the right places. So I'm gonna go with Rohit for my say. Jacob.
All right. One thing I'm surprised that none of you mentioned the fact that it was in Spider-Man Far From Home, that Gyllenhaal was in Far From Home, so he has some ties to comic book movies already.
Well, someone did mention Mysterio, so.
Oh, I must have missed it then.
Yeah, I think Gulliver mentioned Mysterio briefly.
Okay, well then ignore my point there. but either way, as in, I noticed that Gulliver said a lot of times he said like, well, that could also apply to Joel Edgerton. Like basically a lot of your argument was like, well, a lot of the stuff that Rohit just says like, well, like basically like him just going ditto. And honestly, I do think Rohit laid out the arguments a bit better overall. And like I said, and didn't really rely on the whole ditto argument as much as Gulliver did. So my vote goes to Rohit as well.
What about you, Tiki?
All right, Gulliver, I just want to say for the record, I'm kind of frustrated with this result because I am on your side and I'm pretty firmly on your side with this one. Like, I don't even really think it was all that close, honestly. For me, I kind of had the opposite reaction to Jacob, where I thought that what Rohit was essentially doing was he was essentially just pulling out like, well, Jake Gyllenhaal was in this movie, in this movie, in this movie. Whereas with Gulliver, like, yeah, he was like, I don't know. I do think that he had valid points with the ditto thing. Like, and I don't think he used that line that much. I mean, yeah, it was a reoccurring thing with his argument for sure. But, I mean,
it's just that if you've played a character, of a certain type,
right?
That's the state for a lot of other actors. That isn't a special selling point. That's all.
So, Gulliver, I love your opening thesis about the rage thing, and I'm fully on, like, I absolutely would vote for you. No offense to Rohit here. I think you had some solid arguments, but again, I just kind of feel like with these casting things, I kind of notice, like, you do have a tendency to just kind of, like, cite a lot of the roles where it's like, I'm looking for less, like you kind of have to go into these things like kind of assuming that we already know the bodies of work, and it's okay to cite it. But for me, like I said, the reason why Gulliver was a lot more compelling for me was because he was actually like, giving a lot more detail about the methodology to.
And honestly, Rohit tied it better into how it would be a more comic accurate Batman.
No, you're not wrong, and I will say that Rohit did bring it back around at the very end.
He basically said that Jake Gyllenhaal is a real life Batman. That's essentially what his argument was, which I kind of was impressed by. Like, yeah, he's actually a Buddhist. Who knew?
Right.
And none of you guys even picked Dragon's pick for Batman.
What is Dragon's pick?
Jensen Ackles.
Well, that's I know James going to say the other guy, but yes, Jensen actually was going to be my pick for this Batman. But Jacob, or I'm saying for a definitive Batman outside of this James Gunn thing would have been John Hamm. Yes.
Yeah, right. Okay.
John Hamm's always my go-to for the a definitive Batman, but I do Jensen was my legit pick for what James Gunn's doing right now.
Okay, so we got some comments here. Kogia says, it's a good thing I'm not in this debate because my number one choice to play Batman is Steve from Blue's Clues. Yeah.
I love
he's a detective.
So a Batman version of Blue's Clues where like Steve is playing Batman and Blues is like Ace the Bat Hound would be such a great film.
Steve is actually addicted to heroin, like that stupid urban legend. All right. Kogia says, I haven't seen the movies that these two are in, so it's hard for me to see either of them as Batman. He said he's heard of Jill a number of times. He has seen his stuff. Barely know anything about Edgerton. Yeah, Gulliver. I don't know. Again, I'm like an A24 fanboy, so you won my heart with that argument. Joel Edgerton, I feel like, is one of A24's kind of like reoccurring stars. So, but alas, that's how it fell. All right, and also, guys, I just want to point out we're like an hour in and we haven't even gone through the main rounds yet. So let's speed this up a little bit, and that's kind of like on everyone here. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
Mostly Dragon. I feel like that round kind of went on a little too long, honestly. Low-key, just saying. All right. Anyways.
Not low-key enough, but yeah. All right. So, all right. Anyway, let me check the old payphone here because we're in the DC universe after all. And holy free holies, it's the Mixie money. We found it. There it is. It's got a hat and everything. It's right there.
All right.
All right, so Rohith, guess what, buddy? You get some Mixie money, and you have to spend it right now.
Could I have some? Could I be okay? So, this is the flip the coin, so I can't choose to pass.
No.
Okay.
Good news though is if it lands on tails, you will not lose a point. But yeah.
So I have to pick either heads or tails.
I don't like that because it's basically like, okay, whatever. It's fine.
Tails just no point. I'm saying if it lands heads, he gets a point.
Yeah, I know, but it takes
this
factor out of the coin. But it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, so y'all just flip the coin.
Yep, we're gonna
go
flip
ahead.
All right.
Oh man, look at that!
Yeah, Rohith's got 3 on the board.
Brutal.
Jacob.
Yes.
Was it said?
No.
Okay. Now, round number 3.
I don't want to keep things going too long.
I don't
Okay, you know what? I'm the one that's looking out for like when people are watching this in the archives, they're not going to want to watch a 3-hour long show. All right, that's all I'm saying.
Well, they have good taste.
All right. Anyways.
Anyway, and people need busy work,
All right.
Anyway, okay. Round number 3. In honor of Arlene Sorkin, what is the best? Yep, of course. What is the best Harley Quinn moment from the entirety of the DCAU?
But basically, for the purposes of this question, because both people answered Harley's Holiday, what is the best Harley Quinn moment from Harley's Holiday?
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that worked out. I still wanted to go with Mad Love, but apparently not.
Yeah. I mean,
go figure. Anyway, so Rohith, which specific moment did you pick?
My moment was when Harley said to Batman, "Nice guys like you shouldn't have bad days," and gives him a big smooch.
All right, Gulliver.
The moment that I picked was the shopping spree from the middle of the episode where she runs into Bruce Wayne and the woman that Bruce Wayne is seeing, whose name I have forgotten in this moment.
Veronica
should have. Well, never mind. He did already.
Yeah.
All right. Rohith, dazzle us, but keep it brief.
And throughout the entirety of the DCAU, Harley Quinn has been such an iconic villain. But behind that villainy, behind the mischief, is a woman who is hurting, who is a human being. And with this line, she expresses a level of sympathy and compassion to Batman that I don't think many other villains have displayed in the DCAU to Batman or anywhere else. Considering throughout the entirety of the episode, Harley kind of makes a mess of things and, has like a general come in with a tank. The fact that Batman gave her the dress that she wanted and Batman's like, I had a bad day once and, I know how to try to pick up my life together. And the fact that Harley is just so touched by it. And when she says that to Batman, it speaks volumes to both Arlene Sorkin's voice acting, to Paul Dini's writing, to Kevin Conroy's acting, that this woman who is so mischievous, so chaotic, all that can express a sentiment of compassion and care to a character who's so dark, who's so introverted, who's so invert, that his level of care, his level of respect, and just humanity towards a villain, towards someone that made a mess of things. Speaks volumes to Batman's character, both in the DCAU and in just entirety of whole media. And but for Harley, it shows that her as a character, she is still there's still a human being. There's still a Harley Quinzel that even in spite of the antics, even in spite of the crazy that she gets into, she does recognize and sees another human being and can be compassionate and can be loving in that respect.
All right, Gulliver.
Yeah, so the moment I picked is the shopping spree. In this scene, in case somebody's not familiar, the recently released from prison Harley is going to a high-end clothing store and is checking out dresses and stuff. She brings her dogs with her, and she happens to run into Bruce Wayne at the moment this is all happening. I think it's a really incredible moment of writing because she is honestly like trying her best to be like this reformed person and do things in an honest way. She's there to shop and spend money to buy a thing, but she's not used to it anymore. And she has this kind of like chaotic interaction where her dogs are there, like the hyenas are freaking people out. And like, the girlfriend character comes out and she's like, oh, I was the clown who put the gun to your head, earlier. And she like freaks out at that and everything. And Bruce Wayne, doesn't know how to react. She puts the Batman on his heels here because he's also trying to assess, is she trying to be a good person? Or is this, a show where she's teasing him, with how much she can get away with? And it's a really incredible character moment, I think. And that's what makes it so interesting for me. There's a lot to break down in that specific moment that's really, really appealing.
All right, boys. Make with the ha-has and fight it out.
My problem with your choice, Jacob, is that I guess it's a funny moment, but I think in terms of defining Harley and showing what she really is, in terms of the writing, in terms of the voice acting from Arlene Sorkin, I feel like there's really not much there. I mean, it's a bit, and I feel like it's kind of an easy joke. It's like, oh, here's the woman with like a crazy odd thing. In this case, her hyena is walking down the street. And I feel like overall, like I think Harley's Holiday is a little bit too comedic for its own good. I know there's some parts that are funny. And I think this gag, while it's humorous for a moment, I don't think it best showcases what's really fascinating about Harley Quinn and the DCAU. I think for my moment that I've highlighted is that you see her kind of break the artifice of like being this like crazy clown girl, this mischievous court jester, and she recognizes and just speaks not from being Harley Quinn, but from speaking as Dr. Harley Quinzel. Like she has a level of respect and care for a guy who got her this dress in spite of her just wrecking the whole entire town. And I think that level of just humanity, that level of, just speaking truth without any sense of irony, any sense of sarcasm, just being earnest.
I have to interrupt you there because if that is the best Harley Quinn moment from the DCAU, I need to take a look at a list of all the people that Harley has kissed in the DCAU. Because I'm pretty sure that includes multiple Robins, Alfred, Superman, probably at least 3 other people. That moment is not as special as you think it is there. And in many of those cases, she is genuine about the kiss she's giving. She just also has ulterior motives. In this moment, that's it is one of many, many kisses, and that is.
Hold on. I highlighted the line she said to Batman. And like the kiss isn't really the big. It's her speaking, her saying that a nice guy like Batman shouldn't have bad days, and that speaks volumes for who Harley Quinn is. It's like yeah, she's like kind of a villain, she's an antagonist, but she was a person. She was someone.
Sure. And that kind of moment happens in the shopping sequence too, where she recognizes Bruce Wayne and she compliments him, just oh, you're so handsome. And all these little things. She's nice to all the people there. She's doing her best in that same way. But the difference in the context there is that here in that scene where she's shopping, she is trying her best and she is really honestly trying to reform, but is just not doing it very well because she's so used to being a villain. And that comes off in this interesting way. The characters react to an interesting way. At this point at the end, the moment would have been exactly the same if she kissed somebody else in that moment. It wouldn't have been any different.
I feel like you're being too overly pedantic and focused, or too overly focused on the kiss. I'm focusing on the line that she said to Batman and what that speaks volumes about her character. And I feel like the fact you're not focusing on that speaks to me that you're not really. It speaks to me that moment does stand out to you. And I want to address here's the thing: the whole sequence. My issue with that sequence is that Harley thinks she's in trouble when a security guard goes up to her, and the thing is, security guard's not even saying that like, "Oh, you stole this" or whatever. He's saying, "Hey, I just need to remove the tag out." And Harley hears him, but just freaks out and all that stuff. I know there's a moment of tragedy, but I think the overall sequence, like leading up to with the whole hyenas thing, it's a very simple gag. It's not something that takes a lot of that it represents the genius of both Paul Dini's writing or the genius of Arlene Sorkin's voice acting. I feel like with my moment, just the line itself and the way Arlene Sorkin delivers it is the personification of what Harley Quinn is as a character.
Sure. Look, it's an excellent delivery, but even if you're not focusing on the kiss, Harley has plenty of other genuine moments throughout the series and throughout the different movies. You always get to see a little bit of her true self, especially when she's kind of put on her heels. Those kinds of moments where she expresses herself are also not unusual.
Well, I'm not. Well, here, but we're talking about what's the best moment. What's the most unique moment? And if you were to go by that metric, Jacob, there have been other funny like Harley moments throughout the show. I think like her singing "American Grace" through the kazoo in like the episode "The Man Who Killed Batman." That's a really funny moment. So I don't think that's unique. That's a good metric to determine what is the best Harley Quinn moment. I think for me, what it makes us the best moment is that it speaks to the character, the essence. That this is a woman who, in spite of her chaos, in spite of her mayhem, she is a person who can see and connect with other human beings because she's a psychiatrist and because she's just a.
But she could always do that. That's not unique to this moment. She does it in the shopping sequence too, where she's trying to empathize and relate to these people that she doesn't have that much in common with.
She's just kind of just doing.
It's not necessarily,
She's just kind of like, oh hi, I'm just being crazy or funny and all that stuff. This is just there's no pretense, there's no like waiting for a punchline or gag. This is her.
You keep seeing she's being funny or she's doing a bit, but she's not. The whole point of the scene is that she is trying to be genuine. She just doesn't know how to interact with these people quite in the same way. The tragedy of that scene is that she is trying so hard and things are still not going her way. That's an incredible Harley Quinn moment because it says so much about the character. And I think it's maybe one of the deepest character vulnerability moments that there is. The vulnerability you're saying in this kiss is expressed in many, many other places.
All right.
Expressed in the line that you're saying as well.
Hold on. The kiss is not the important part of the moment. The important part of the moment is the line. And the thing is, I don't understand how you like. Here's the thing: the sequence, the way you describe it, it does not come off as tragic. It comes off as funny, comedic, and I think that was probably the intention of the writing. And I feel like the tragedy comes part later on, and at the end of the episode.
This is a circle. This is a circle. I'm done.
Okay then.
Gulliver made some good points. I do feel. I'm really on the fence on this one. I really am. Here's the thing. I think Rohith had an amazing opening in the description recap of his moment, but I really love the place Gulliver was coming from initially. I think the kiss. I don't like the tactic of him trying to take down the argument, all because of the kiss. Mainly, it's not even so much just like focus on the kiss itself, or it's like trying to distract his opponents. More so, it's the fact of like. I think I don't know. This is gonna be weird. I don't know. I'm not gonna say disrespectful character, but it's just kind of this thing. She did not kiss that many people in the DCAU. Gulliver's crazy. You know what he's talking about. Anyway, aside from that, though, I mean, I think we did distill down, her character in two ways. I just feel one was a little bit more direct and really well laid out, and I feel Rohith argued a moment a little more than Gulliver argued, just kind of like more truth about the character. So I mean, I really want to give it to Gulliver, but I don't know. I think I kind of have to, at least for my, but I think I have to go for Rohit. I think I do. But very thin margin, though. Jacob.
Like, I'm actually gonna give the point to Gulliver here.
Okay. Hey, all right. All right, Tiki.
Yeah, it's almost as if with how well structured Rohit's arguments are, it's almost like he's a lawyer or something, right? Weird.
That'd be crazy, Tiki. He can't possibly be a lawyer.
It's like, well, what kind of lawyer would want to hang out with us?
And we like him.
That's really what I think every time he comes on the podcast.
Anyway,
we love you, Rohit. Though we love you. We love you, Rohit.
As long as he doesn't charge us, we love him.
Okay, I am going to give the point to Gulliver. Honestly, for a lot of it, I kind of thought that Rohit had it in the bag just because I really liked the vulnerability thing that he was talking about. But with Gulliver, honestly, I'm going to come at this from a really personal place where, if you all know me, you know that I have some issues with social anxiety and just dealing with being around people. A lot of times I can feel like very vulnerable in a crowded environment. And a lot of times I've been in positions where things go wrong seemingly in spite of the fact that I am trying my hardest, and sometimes it feels like me trying my hardest almost escalates the situation. So just because Gulliver touched on a really personal thing, and I kind of feel like that was a more unique argument than, oh, look at Harley, she's got a heart of gold after all. I'm gonna give the point to Gulliver. But again, it was pretty slim. I feel like Gulliver kind of like reached in and swooped it out right at the end there. So,
okay, Jacob.
Okay, first up, that brings it to Gulliver 1, Rohit 3.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, Dragon, I would love to say yes, but unfortunately I can't.
All right. So we're at the end of 3 rounds, which brings us to the two-faced coin, a.k.a. the Great Equalizer.
Was the phrase? Oh no, I'm sorry. The question was like, my bad. I'm dumb. Ignore me.
Anywho, like I was saying, the Great Equalizer.
Yes.
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 Can we see the Great Equalizer?
In a second.
All right.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah, look at that. Look at all that menace there. Okay, so.
The menace of the blank stare of this digitalized coin.
What are those blobs coming down from like the middle of the Google page?
And that's the daily doodle.
Oh, okay. That's
like
weird.
Like you mean in the center on the left hand side. Yeah, that's part of the. I'm guessing that's part of the daily doodle.
Fair enough.
Anyway, Stolly Jones. Gulliver. I'm sorry. I should probably. Well, I mean, I forget. Did we want to offer to the person?
No, the rule is that whoever won the last point gets to go first.
Well, no. Well, oh yeah, right. Sorry.
Or no, gets to choose. Actually, gets to choose technically.
Okay, Gulliver. Would you like to go first or second? Well, I mean, you want to be offered at first.
Flip the coin.
Yeah, let's hear. This was the optional feature. Would you like to flip the coin, Gulliver?
I would like to flip the coin.
You're going to flip the coin.
No chance that I will win otherwise.
All right.
We're gonna flip
Like
the
that
coin.
attitude.
Oh.
I legitimately hate to see that. I really do.
All right, Rohit, you want to flip it? You don't have to, but would you like to?
I will respectfully pass.
Okay. Oh God.
And now the score is back to 3-0.
Okay, but it's a
I
speed
feel
round.
like Jacob, you cite this a lot, but I feel like you have come back from this exact same score.
I have.
Yeah, so it can be done. It can be
Passing
done.
the Jacob baton, quite potentially.
Right.
I believe in you,
It's
Gulliver.
never happened for me, not once.
Well, who knows? He might get lucky this time. Fate might smile upon you this fine day.
The speed round, I mean, forget about the coin. I think the speed round is the great equalizer.
If there's one certainty about our debate show, is that someone always leaves getting lucky.
All right.
All right, so let's spin our wheels in a literal sense here. Let's go to the wheel of Sesame Street.
A wheel is Sesame
I like
Street.
how that wheel, just by coincidence, is kind of Sesame Street colors already.
Yes. Okay, so before we spin, I just want to remind the folks at home, again, we're in our speed round now, and the way this works, it's 30 seconds followed by a 15-second rebuttal for both players. And again, we're taking speed round questions if you guys want to pitch us some and judge them. Okay. So, let's see. So, Gulliver, you won last round. Would you like to spin first or second?
I guess I will spin second. I'm not sure what we're doing with Sesame Street characters here.
Well, that's the thing. So we're going to spin the wheel. You will be assigned whatever answer it lands on, and then I will reveal the question.
And it's basically our obligatory Muppet question.
Yeah, so it's kind of themed more to the HBO Max of it all. So, all right.
As you can see on this list, we have 12 characters from Sesame Street. And remember, you are stuck with whatever you get.
Right.
So,
Okay, we're gonna spin it for Rohith.
yes. Rohit, let's see what you get.
Bert.
Bert.
All right, you got Bert. Now that Bert's hidden, let's spin for Gulliver.
Why do you hurt me, Bert?
Bert, you're shouting.
If he got Ernie, I would have been very... Telly!
Hey!
I have no idea who Telly is.
Well,
Oh,
son of a...
I'm even kind of drawing a blank, honestly.
To be fair, I didn't. And to be fair, with making this, I didn't know who Telly was
It's
either.
the elephant, right?
No! What? No!
That's Snuffleupagus. I'm sorry.
Yes!
Sorry.
You maniac! Oh my!
Who is I forget who Telly is. I'm sorry.
Telly's, like the purple monster with the orange nose that hangs out. With
Okay, give Gulliver something else. Come on, have mercy on the guy.
All right. But this is the only respin you get.
I'm just saying, out of all the characters on that wheel, that is definitely the most obscure one.
No, you're wrong about that, friend.
Well, speaking of the...
No, oh fuck.
I think I know who Mr. Snuffleupagus is. That
Okay.
one is like the brown elephant guy, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
that's correct. The brown elephant guy. All right, so
All right, we don't need this wheel anymore, but I'm not going to close it just yet.
Oh, that's
okay,
ominous.
so the question on Frere: which Sesame Street character should be recruited for the Suicide Squad?
Oh my god.
Rohith.
Are you really going to kill people, Bert?
And including Snuffleupagus was actually my idea.
Oh my god.
You can thank Jacob for that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rohit, when you're ready.
Bert is the best candidate for the Suicide Squad because he's no nonsense. He's serious. He's studious. He is very focused on his work, on just any activity, and that is very necessary and very important for Amanda Waller's Suicide Squad. She can rely on him to do the job, not try to deviate from the plan, and go in A to B, get the job done, go to prison, wait for the next one. No messing around or your head fucking explodes.
I'm just coming up with all these Bert and Ernie jokes over the scenario.
Well, wait till the end.
All right, I'm sorry.
So am I giving opening statements or am I counteract or doing
Well,
it?
You have an opening statement and then a 15-second rebuttal after Rohit gives his 15-second rebuttal.
But Gulliver, you can
Okay.
use the time any way you see fit. You basically have 30 seconds, then a 15-second rebuttal to whatever. Yeah, so you have 30 seconds.
Okay, so Mr. Snuffleupagus has a huge, cool trunk, which is very much like a dumb Suicide Squad character thing that a Suicide Squad character would have. You can use it to reach stuff. You can use it to blow stuff out of in a fun, exciting way. It would be great for that. He's also pretty cute, so I think that he could be something that people would underestimate. Would make him pretty interesting character to write for, because like there's times when those characters that are cute or pretty will look be underestimated.
Mr. Snuffleupagus is too pure for this world. If he gets, let's say, opera music, he's going to compromise the mission. Deadshot or Boomerang is going to kill him, and that's a liability. You want someone who gets the job done, no frills, no muss. Bert has the job done.
Bert don't leave home. Bert stays in bed and eats cookies. Bert, as the guy who gets the job done, is ridiculous. He is a homebody who likes to be at home. That doesn't make any sense to me. And also, the whole thing of this is ridiculous.
I concur with that second point.
Well, that's kind of the point of some of these speeches.
I know.
All right, Jacob, would you like to judge this one?
Yes, I'm going to go with Gulliver for this.
Okay. All right, so that's one on the board.
Bert, I really hate driving all this way for these visits, Bert. You got to talk to your lawyer, Bert. All right, I'm done.
Right.
Just imagining Ernie going to a prison visit.
What's in these cookies?
Oh God! All right.
Ernie is the file in the is the file in the cookies.
All right.
File? You mean the document? Here you go, Bert. No, Ernie.
Okay, we literally just wrote a Sesame Street sketch.
I should have said that Snuffleupagus has his own built-in garrote. That's what I should have said.
He kind of does.
Older, I did really love the point of like Snuffleupagus is like an adorable character, and you could do some really interesting kind of like contrast stuff with that. Like, totally.
I was hoping for a King Shark comparison, but that did not happen.
All right, what's next, Jake? Dragon.
Okay, so in honor of the massive success of my adventures with Superman, what is the most inspiring Superman moment ever? Like, period. Across all media. Just what's the most inspiring Superman moment ever?
Superman's monologue to Manchester Black at the end of What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way, or is adapted in the DC animated film Superman versus the Elite.
Okay. Gulliver.
Oh man.
Now you can't say there's not enough to think of on this one.
No, there is. I'm just trying to rack my brain.
It's a hard one to come up with.
That's a huge library of work to summon forward on the fly.
I mean, there is one there is one that I immediately thought of.
Maybe the sequence where he's talking down the girl from committing suicide by jumping off the ledge.
From All-Star?
That sounds right, yeah.
Well, that's comforting, but okay, let's go with it.
You're talking about the best, moment, right?
Well, yeah, most inspiring.
Most inspiring, yeah.
So, okay, most inspiring. All right, that's one. I'm saying the fact that you can't fully remember if it was All-Star, but I'm pretty sure it's All-Star, so let's just go with that.
It is All-Star Superman.
Well, yeah, all right.
Good thing it wasn't All-Star Batman and Robin.
Because that Batman would have said, jump.
But yeah, exactly.
we got an airbag, just jump. Or Robin, just push her onto the airbag.
all right.
Anyway, just to refocus
just a
here.
quick question. Just quick FYI. You probably should change the banner to have 2 points for Gulliver.
Wait. He lost the point. He lost the point with the coin.
Remember he lost
Yeah, he lost a point with the wheel.
Oh, that's right. Okay. All right. Thank you for
But
that.
I just won the stuff I guess, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
That's
your scores at 1.
Oh, didn't I have something else too?
You won,
Yes,
you
you got the points that you lost on the wheel.
You won
We're going down to 0.
You won the Harley Quinn question. You lost on the coin flip, and then you gained it for the previous speed round question. And Rohith gained a point when he found the earlier coin.
All right. Hopefully that clears things up. All right, guys, let's go.
All right,
Rohith, whenever you are ready.
Dream save us. Dream lift us up and transform us. And on my soul, I swear, until my dream of a world with dignity, honor, justice becomes reality we all share, I'll never stop fighting ever. That is the inspiring thing about Superman, is that he'll never give up fighting for the things that he values, that he wants humanity to live by and embody, against the personification of nihilism, of cynicism. He says, no, I'm Superman, and we can do better for the entire human race.
The sequence where Superman talks down the girl who's jumping, I think, is really emblematic of his emotional strength and not just his physical strength. He indicates with much sincerity how strong he feels everybody is, even when they feel that they're at their weakest. And I think it's such a personal and very, very heartfelt moment that really speaks to the core of who not just Superman is, but what it means to be a hero entirely.
Superman has had another moment where he talks someone down, and the thing is, it's a unique situation for a lot of people to be. For my monologue, he's providing moral clarity to not just himself, but to good people of humanity, to believe in the dream and to fight for the dream.
I feel that's the same thing that's being fought for here, having the emotional strength to fight for that dream, fight for that quality of life, even when things are most difficult, even when you're at your worst moments.
Okay. I'm gonna rule on this one. Obviously, these are two really good Superman moments. I mean, seriously, these are top two Superman moments. I'm gonna give the point to Gulliver on this one.
All right.
All right. 2-3. Okay. Next question. Again, we're still looking for any audience questions. Should anyone want to post them? So.
And none of the words have been said yet.
Not yet, but they might.
Really quick, if
Yeah.
I can guess what the word is, can I have a point?
Well,
No.
Well, no, that's the whole the opposite. It's the opposite of how this works.
If you guess the word, you'll have to suffer the penalty.
It's like, hey, there's the landmine. I'm just gonna throw myself on it.
Well, what I'm saying is, can I use my detective skills, since we're in DC space here, to disarm this trap by guessing what it is?
All right, Dragon. Do you want to give him a shot? And if he doesn't guess it, he has to suffer.
You can say no. I'll
make you a deal. Okay, per what the other Jacob is suggesting here. If you can guess the word, you get one shot at it right now. You get one shot. You gotta guess. You gotta guess the word. You get one shot. If you get it, I will give you a point. If you do not get it, you incur the penalty.
Oh,
take it or leave it.
I will reserve the right to do that for later on, depending on how I'm doing.
Okay.
And Rohith, the offer also extends to you, just to make it fair.
I like that though. I like that as a new system.
Yep.
Thanks for that idea, Gulliver.
Yeah, you just came up with that like on the fly, Dragon, but that's actually a good gameplay mechanic.
Yeah, we leveled up, kids. Look what's going on.
And as I said, Rohith, you can also do the same thing if you feel confident.
No,
but keep in mind, even if the penalty is suffered, the word might still be there, and you'll still suffer the penalties.
I just really want it to be Martha.
Right, anyway, besides the Joker, who is the best villain in all of DC?
Lex Luthor.
It's another huge pantheon of characters that I'm being required to summon instantaneously.
Come on, man. Throw a rock, you're going to hit a good one. Just come on.
There are a lot of great villains in DC, even more than the Joker when it comes to Batman's rogue gallery.
Yep. It's like Baskin Robbins exploded in here, and all the flavors are evil.
Baskin Robbins always finds out.
Yep. They don't. Apparently, they don't make good cakes.
I've never had their cake, and
Good for them.
I've actually rarely had their ice cream. I'm much more of like a Dairy Queen kind of
I
guy.
wonder if Baskin Robbins made those special flavors that they were talking about.
Is Baskin Robbins more of a West Coast thing and Dairy Queen more of an East Coast thing? 'Cause we don't really
Dairy
have
Queen is Midwest. Dairy Queen's HQ's in Minnesota. Dairy Queen's Midwest hardcore.
I have both here, over here in Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I think there is maybe one Baskin Robbins in Minnesota. I have no idea.
Oh, there's like,
where
in California, it's like one of those things where it's like there's like a Baskin Robbins in like every town, at least in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
All right, so
I guess I'm going to go with Ra's al Ghul.
all right.
Rohith with Lex Luthor and Gulliver with Ra's al Ghul.
Outside of the Joker, Lex Luthor is the greatest villain in the DC universe. He's one of the smartest people in the DC universe. He has vast resources that rival the likes of Batman. His capacity for ruthlessness, for nihilism, for cynicism, it's such a great counterbalance to the greatest superhero in the DC universe, which is Superman. He represents the worst of humanity, and the sheer joy, the sheer power, the sheer drive is what makes him such a compelling villain and makes him such an influence in the DC universe.
I think Ra's al Ghul is really effective because he's on the surface doesn't seem that powerful, but he can be manipulating all these different elements under the surface, controlling all these little pieces of society. And when you finally get to him and kill him, he comes right back. And sometimes even stronger than he was before. The element of being able to continuously restore yourself and change, influence all these things in immortality is really powerful and scary.
Ra's al Ghul is a dude who constantly gets beat by Batman. He has his daughter sent for Batman. He dies multiple times, gets resurrected. He doesn't really influence stuff. Lex Luthor became president of the United States, the DC universe. Clearly, someone is able to make an outsized influence on a wider population.
Lex Luthor is Jeff Bezos who bought himself a mech suit. He is every ordinary businessman who thinks he's really smart, but is constantly outsmarted by other people and constantly beat down by other people who, making fun of him and treating him like the junk that he is.
Jacob, I'm gonna have you call this one, buddy.
Oh. All right. You both have very good picks here, and although I think I'm going to decide with Gulliver on this.
Okay.
The Jeff Bezos spying a mech suit thing, that was just too good of a line.
I gotta admit though, Rohith had some really good takedowns for Ra's, though. I gotta admit.
Yeah, he did. He gets beaten by Batman. His daughter has the hots for Batman.
Yes.
By Batman. That's not a unique quality.
Anyway, yeah. Also, I would say my pick would have been Reverse Flash, but Anyway. Okay. Okay. Here's a fun one. You guys are gonna love this. What is the dumbest moment from any of the Arrowverse series?
Oh man!
As in any of the DC CW shows. I'm just calling it the Arrowverse. That's essentially what they branded it as. The hands down dumbest, capital D in a dunce cap, dumbest moment from the Arrowverse.
This is gonna be a problem because I stopped watching probably tail end of season 5 of Arrow, and I didn't watch anything else after that. My assumption is that all of the truly most egregious dumb shit happened after that. There was plenty of dumb stuff beforehand, but there's probably a bunch of dumb stuff I didn't see.
I want to be clear, by Arrowverse, I'm not just saying the Green Arrow show. I'm saying this is what they call all this DC CW shows.
Legends of Tomorrow.
I just want to make that clear. Let's make sure. Yeah. Okay, you're all good.
Black Lightning, all that
Sure.
stuff. Supergirl.
Okay.
I mean, and if you have a good enough answer for many of those first 5 seasons,
I'm going to say Supergirl's treatment of Red Tornado.
Ooh,
Interesting.
Flash having a lightsaber fight with Speed Force Lightning against Reverse Flash and Godspeed.
Really? Okay. It's the lightsaber fight.
all right, Gulliver, you're up first.
So, Red Tornado, who is a member of the Justice League and is a really cool classic character, was essentially given the one-off villain of the week treatment, given the worst costume and makeup that has ever been done across the Arrowverse, and was turned into this kind of mindless robot character, which is just so wrong. It's very, very dumb. They took a really fun character who has these great classic ties, and they really stripped him down to nothing.
In the season 7 finale, when Flash and Reverse Flash are going, or when Flash is going up against Godspeed and Reverse Flash, they just randomly decide to make lightsaber shapes Speed Force Lightning and just do a bad version of the Speed of Star Wars with special effects that make the average Power Rangers show look like fucking Avatar. The choreography is out of place. The writing is at the lowest, is at the nadir of the Flash and the overall CW. This is dumb wrong.
The Arrowverse Red Tornado is a man wearing red, like playroom mats and a helmet around a red painted face. It is so bad and so obviously dumb. I can't believe they did that to Red Tornado. Please go Google a picture. Please go Google a picture. It's so bad if you haven't seen it.
All right, okay, let them say his thing.
In future seasons of Arrowverse, Red Tornado gets redeemed and shown in good CGI, and the CGI for their future Red Tornado is much better than the CGI for the lightsaber fight. The Flash, it was at its lowest point, and it wasn't even utilizing its best parts. It was the worst way to do it.
Well, this was an interesting one. Because, yeah, I'll be honest, these are moments I didn't expect either of you to bring up, and I was kind of delightfully surprised by them. Because these were dumb moments. Don't get me wrong. They were dumb moments. But the thing is, so the Flashman was more in a dumb season, but still, I understand absolutely what he's getting at for like the reasons he explained with the Power Rangers rationale and such. The thing that's conflicting me here is that Rohit mentioned, Red Tornado gets redeemed in the CW stuff, which obviously is a point that Gulliver would not have frame reference for. But if he is that attached to Red Tornado and so offended by this, you'd think he would have checked on that. I don't know.
We're talking about the dumbest moment, not a good moment later. And
no. Well, don't. I'm making deliberations here. Okay, you had your chance. Okay. So that said, in focusing on the arguments at hand, what it really boiled down to was, okay, Speed Force Lightning, which, is just basically, it's a hokey idea versus character assassination. So I'm going to go with character assassination for at least the moment that was described. So I'm going to give the point to Gulliver.
Gulliver's clawed his way back to 4 points.
4-3. All right. Let's see. Okay.
And no one has said any of the words.
Does anyone want to wager a guess?
I'm good.
I'm currently okay.
Okay. Who, pray tell, should Sean Gunn, James Gunn's brother, play in Superman Legacy, now back in production, it seems?
Wait, pause for a second.
Wait, was it not?
Isn't he already playing 2 characters in Creature Commando?
Well, even so, it's just the fact James Gunn always puts Sean Gunn in all of his movies that he works on, so he's directing that movie.
True.
Ergo, he's probably going to be. He's played multiple characters before, so I mean, it's entirely possible.
I mean, because remember, in Guardians, he did play like Rocket's on-screen model and Kraglin.
I mean, he plays two characters in the Suicide Squad movie too.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's also in Peacemaker as Calendar Man, I think.
True.
Well, no, that's thing he's.
Suicide Squad.
I know he's in there too, but I think he is also in one of the sequences in Peacemaker, if I remember right.
If it
I
is,
think he
it's
comes
really
back.
under. I don't think he is Gulliver, but I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe I missed
Was
him,
he-
but I don't know.
Was he in Slither?
I believe, I assume so. I mean, look, Slither's like the only James Gunn movie I didn't see, so I don't know.
All right.
I would assume he is, but I don't
Right.
remember off the top of my head.
Okay, point being, Sean, I'm assuming he is in Superman Legacy, or he's already playing characters. And the point being, if he is in Superman Legacy and playing a character that is not someone from Creature Commandos, who should he be? Now, we already have kind of a stacked cast in that movie with a bunch of name heroes and stuff. But again, it could be anyone. Could be Superman supporting cast. Could be someone from the DC universe. Could be random average Joe. Who knows? Could be anyone.
There's two pretty big Superman characters off the top of my head that have not been cast yet. He wouldn't be a perfect fit for either of them, but... And it doesn't even have to be a Superman character per se, because of course Superman Legacy is kind of the broad DC universe.
Just to remind, we have we got Metamorpho, we got Guy Gardner, we got Hawkgirl,
Mr. Terrific.
Mm-hmm. Got
And-
Lois.
And Crypto the Super Dog.
Mm-hmm. And we got Superman.
Well, we already have Superman.
That'd be sad though. It's called Superman Legacy. This is takes place after the death of Superman. That's gonna be the big subversion. No, actually,
that would be something.
According to a guy, it's gonna be set in the world without Superman. They're all gonna be talking about how great he is. Maybe he's gonna be the picture on the in memoriam thing. That'll be
Wouldn't that be just the ultimate rubbing salt in the wounds of Cavill?
Yep.
Yes, it would. I mean, when it comes to writing like that, I think James would have more tact than that. I hope, I should say. I hope he does.
All right, guys, we got 80 years worth of material here. What do I say?
Ooh.
All right, if you don't take any longer, I'm gonna go.
Okay, so I've went to Wikipedia to look up characters.
I'll go. Parasite.
You know what? I'm coming off of 3 days of really long
characters
shows,
that
so I
I'm
have to
thinking
get
of
up
aren't
in
even that obscure.
7 hours, so bear with me.
If I'm saying you host a show called Geek Out, man, come on.
Yes, Superman is not my forte.
I mean,
I'm gonna go with Bibbo Bibowski.
All right.
Okay.
I was just gonna say if we took any longer, I was gonna go to a DC character randomizer, and you guys would be stuck with that.
God.
Yeah, my pick is Parasite.
All right.
All
Hey,
right.
Get ready, Gulliver.
Am I going first here? Sorry.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
whenever you
Okay.
start. Yeah.
He who speaks first goes first.
Okay. So Bibbo Bibowski runs a bar called the Ace-O Clubs, where Superman occasionally goes for information. He is a goofy kind of fun metropolis denizen who I think represents the everyman, which Sean Gunn is really good at. It'll be fun to have some kind of lighthearted scenes getting information or having some goof off moments where he could kind of show his stuff and get a little bit more round table moments, some lighter moments in between the bigger storytelling and action sets.
Sean Gunn is really good at physical performance and he's done really good voice work with Weasel. Parasite would be the great character to really lean into James Gunn's horror sensibilities within a Superman project. He can go really small and very like bright and rad, or like a big giant monster. I think Sean Gunn can have the physical performance capabilities and the voice acting capabilities to make Parasite really unique, really horrifying, really traumatic, and I think can make it stand out within a Superman project such as Superman Legacy.
I think Sean Gunn would be a really good like physical motion capture actor. I don't know if he would have the kind of like intensity or like creepy voice that I would want for a Parasite type character, but he would be great as like the stunt person or mocap person for that.
Okay, Rohit's going to get a couple extra seconds with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Sean Gunn is the ill choice for Bibbo Babowski because Bibbo Babowski tends to be a bigger, broader guy. David Harbour, Dave Bautista is more fitting for that character. Sean Gunn is a little bit more lithe, a little bit more weaselly, as with Weasel. I think Parasite is more to his sensibilities, his capabilities to really lean into horror aspect.
All right.
All right, Tiki, this is your question, so you get to call it.
Fair enough. Yeah. Gulliver, clean sweep. You destroyed the speed round.
All right.
Honestly, for me, Googling a picture of this character, yeah, like I agree with Rohit's point about like he's not really like that well, like, usually this character looks like he's a little bit more well built. But the thing is, when I think Sean Gunn, I think like kind of like blue collar working man. And that is exactly what this character is in the realm of DC. So like when I was saying like the two ideas that I had were either Perry White or Jimmy Olsen. So either like kind of like a more blue collar kind of like, like more almost like forced positivity kind of boss in Perry White, or I'm imagining like a slightly older leaning Jimmy Olsen who's still kind of like a man child. But no, I think that this Bibbo Babowski character, that's a hell of a name. I think it fits Sean Gunn's strengths quite well, and I very much agree with Gulliver that, or I'm sorry, with Gulliver. I'm sorry. I very much agree with him that with the Parasite thing. First of all, Sean Gunn never really plays like the lead role in any James Gunn movies. Like he's always kind of like off, like on the sidelines. So I don't think having like an apocalyptic world-ending style threat, like I don't really think that's the best way to go for the Superman legacy villain anyway, since of course this is the start of the universe. But more importantly, I agree with the point that Sean Gunn just does not have that vocal, like he does not have an intimidating vocal complexion to him, and I can't really picture him having that. So yeah, Gulliver, you just straight up like speed round, come in, wham bam, thinking man, like let's go.
To Gulliver, how do you feel?
I'm exhausted, but grateful that you like some of my answers.
All right.
All right. So, does anyone want to guess the words?
I'm good.
Well, now you're not going to get the penalty. You can just say what you can guess.
Well, I'm curious what Gulliver thought it was going to be because he seemed pretty confident.
I was gonna guess as long as I'm free from penalty at this point.
No, we're just going to take the title away from you.
Yeah, I was gonna guess either Zack Snyder or Snyderverse.
Well, Gulliver, I hate to break it to you. Since you actually said the word, we're gonna have to take that point away from you. I'm kidding.
It's a good
No,
thing
that's not the word either. I'm just
Okay.
It's a good thing you didn't guess that because you would have spun.
Yep.
All right.
Should we tell them the words, Dragon?
Do you want to tell them the words, Jacob?
I mean, I do if you do.
All right, sure. Go ahead. Go
Right.
ahead.
I'm surprised considering Tiggy said it multiple times, but Martha was one of the words.
Oh my god, I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
so thanks for that.
The Condiment King. Laser Dude.
Laser Dude, oh god.
We miss him.
and Shazam.
Nice.
I was really hoping Shazam was going to get said because that would have been priceless.
You don't have any questions about Shazam.
I know, but you know.
We could have mentioned him.
All right, let's wrap this up, guys. This Gulliver is exhausted, so.
Anyway. So that does it for the debate. I think we've all learned some valuable life lessons and such. Did you have fun, everyone?
Yay!
Yes.
I'll take it. Okay.
And
Well, thank you. Yep.
And the thing is, the punishment like last time would have been decided by a wheel.
Yeah.
I won't say what the punishments would have been, but that's what it would. It would have been decided at random.
Let's thank the folks for tuning in this evening. We had Code Geass, Anime Fan, Little Blue.
Yeah.
Last thing I'll mention is just that the worst part about the DC or any of the debates really for me is that I have to tear down somebody else's passion. So I want to say, Rohith, I appreciate all the passion that you threw behind your arguments and the cool stuff you had to say about all the different things. I think that part can sometimes get lost in the debate. So I appreciate you and I appreciate your passion.
No, I thank you, Jacob. I'll just say you have the one thing that always is my kryptonite. Was that the other word as well?
No.
Oh, that's surprising.
That was one of the.
It was factored in the decision. We thought it was too easy.
Yeah, so I think the kryptonite for me for a lot of debates is that like if my opponent just has like really good witty retorts, it'll kind of just make little holes in the argument that deflates it. So that was a good, and I think that's especially like prominent in the like speed round where I think just like the rebuttal, you just had like the right jabs to kind of like deflate it. So that's a skill. That's something I have to like, that's a great skill on your part, and that's something that like in the future debates, if ever my opponent has that kind of strategy, I kind of have to like build my defenses a little bit or match that kind of jab back and forth. But it's good on your part. The man, I wish I responded to that. Jeff Bezos is dude. It's a great bar, but
yeah.
I should have said rather cool. I should have said he's just a stereotypical he's a stereotypical caricature of a brown terrorist. But I kind of just went for like the whole like his daughter is Sims for Batman, and that's like. But I have to say, Gulliver, you and Laser Dude have a very good just like. I think for me, the way I go about debating is like I just kind of go for like structure and volume, and you go for like just like precision attacks, kind of like acupuncture. So I think we're definitely working in your favor at certain points, but that was a good debate overall.
Yeah, likewise.
It's almost like Gulliver's involved in the creative arts or something.
Yeah, it's just I hate tearing down other people's like, and they're like, this is so cool and important to me and all this stuff, and I'm just like, that doesn't feel good. I don't like that.
You're gonna tell me his logo's a candy bar? I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
For me, when I was still playing in the debates, whenever I felt like I came up upon a brick wall, I just killed them with hyperbole. That was my strategy. Just like say the most ridiculous, outlandish shit, but say it with conviction.
And a lot of my strategies are just pulling stuff from nowhere, and a lot of times not even coming in prepared.
All right, let's wrap this up, gentlemen.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
All right. Nice tuning in, folks. See you at the next debate. Should be a spooky one. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bert, you promised me, Bert.